Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Fit, Fabulous, and Fun. Tonight it's fun night, and I have a very special guest. She is an amazing woman who lives in Spokane, Washington. She's a former student of mine and a wonderful colleague, and she is one of the most gifted and talented and creative artists that I have met on my journey. She actually did some of the graphic design and artwork in my book, Both Ends of the Rainbow. So tonight, Candy has come on here with us to share her journey, a journey of how she began creating mandalas, and she's going to tell you what they are and how to use them in your life. So without further ado, I want to introduce you all to Candy Toman, beautiful lady with pink and purple hair, all the way from Washington State, to share her gifts and talents with you tonight. Welcome, Candy.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Gloria. You make me blush.
Well, now you just match your pink hair.
Yeah, it really kind of does.
Well, I'm really excited to have you. Candy, our journey together over the last several years, I don't even know how many now, is wonderful together with you. And watching you blossom has been so fun for me, including this new hair color you got with pink and purple. It's just absolutely radiant and beautiful on you. And when I started to see you creating these mandalas, I've always been fascinated with them. And I see one sitting behind you right now that just really intrigues me, and it's in your massage room because Candy happens to be a massage therapist. So Candy, tell us a little bit about what is a mandala, first of all.
Okay. Mandalas are ancient. They attribute mandalas to being created all the way back in the caveman days, that some of the original cave paintings were considered mandalas. And they are a sacred container. They bring the person viewing them and the creator, they bring you to the center, and it's a journey that takes you from where you're at into the center, and then it brings you through the layers back out. The Hindus and the older religions use them as a way to communicate with their deities, seeing that the attributes of the deity were held at the center of the mandala. And when you meditated on it, that took you on the journey closer to your deity. The ones I think that are being created now are equally sacred, but they've broadened into journeys into self, or journey into things that you wish to attribute to or to heal in your life. And that's where mine come in, and kind of what their purpose is.
So how did this gift start to come to you? Because you have a graphic artist background, which is a little bit different than this whole creative thing, but I have seen you do some really fun stuff. So how did these mandalas start coming to you?
Well, it's funny you had to mention the graphic design, because I've actually been creating mandalas a lot longer than I knew. And I created my first mandala in a graphic design that I used to put on my back as a tattoo. Then I can't find the artwork for it, but I didn't know at the time that that's what I was creating. But I created one piece of it, and then I redid it in the computer in its perfection. Where this new journey started was in what you see. And can you go back one slide?
This is your first one.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so when I moved, this is my third space as a healer. And when I moved in here, each space communicates with me as to what it wants. And this space wanted to be teal. And as I was painting the walls, there was one morning I was standing in the mirror getting ready to come to the studio, and actually wearing one of these sweaters. And I looked at it, and the voice leapt into my head, and it said, "Create that."
So Candy, I'm just going to stop you there for a second. So when you said this voice told you to create this, what is this voice, and does everybody hear it?
I don't know. I don't know if everyone hears it. I know that I hear it. And I've learned through my journey with you and Lomi Lomi, and my spiritual journey, that I have a guiding voice. It has to do with creativity and source energy and our Almakua, our ancestors. It's just everything that communicates with me. And it comes from about right here. And which is to the right side of my head. But it is an external guiding voice that I do hear and resonate with, and I've learned to listen to. And I think it's probably also my heart speaking to me in a way that I'll hear a little bit easier. And so I ran and I grabbed a piece of paper and I sketched what I saw in my mind of create this. And I came down to this new studio space and I stood and stared at this wall, which is at the foot of my massage table. And I laid the sketch on the floor and I created the circle with a pen, a stick pin and a string. And that was all I could do with a tool. And then it sat there and it waited. And what came out is this in all of its imperfection. And this creation process was probably one of the most powerful creation processes I have ever experienced. It took me about 3 or 4 hours being in here by myself, and I went through a massive gamut of emotions. And I was crying and I was laughing, and I just had to go and I had to create. It all came out in one sitting. And I would paint. I don't even think I can describe the whole creation process. And as I was standing there, what was coming through it was so powerful that it made me shake and just tears flow. And so I created this first circle of the dark dots that are in the center. And it got easier to be in its presence. So then if you go to the next slide, you can see that it still wasn't quite enough. And there's actually a second circle of dots. And that became the container for the center. Mm-hmm. And my best friend came in because she also owns the space that I'm in. And before I put the circles on it, she had the same feeling. She couldn't be in its presence for very long because the emotions and the love and everything that was coming through it was so overpowering. So I finished it. I put the second row of circles and the center was blank. And I kept trying to put things in the center because most of my mandalas, or actually all of my mandalas, start from the center. And I kept putting things and it wasn't right. And so I'd paint over it. And I tried, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll do this. And I'd put it, and nope, paint over it. And what I kept hearing is the center is you. And so I finally said, okay. And I stopped. And then I finished. I took a piece of it and put on the other wall, which you can see. So I get all the painting done and get ready. The day I'm moving in, I'm carrying a tote in my hands, and the mirror that you see is actually an antique mirror that I got from my great-grandparents, and it's been in every space that I've had. So I walk through the door with this tote, and the mirror's sitting on top, and I walk through the door, and I hear the clarion bell, and I stop, and I looked at the mirror, and I looked at the wall, and I went, oh, I wonder, because I did not create this around that mirror. And I walked up and I held the mirror up to the mandala, and I swear I heard a click. And the message that's then come to me is the center is you, and you is whoever's looking at it, whoever's in its presence.
I love that. That is beautiful. You know, you talk about the different emotions that come up when you're listening, when you're in tune, okay? And over the years, I've had people say to me, oh, well, I don't hear certain things, or I don't see them or feel them. But we all have the capability. So can you describe what you went through when you finally accepted that this feeling, this voice, this intuition, whatever you want to call it, this part of your spirit started getting louder? What was happening for you?
There was so much growth as that processed, and then there was a lot of not growth. And as I would start to accept it, I'd take certain steps, and then it would scare me, and I'd back up. and I'd wait for a while, and then I'd miss it. And so then I'd forge ahead and I'd receive more. And then it would scare me. And then I would step back. So it's been this forward, 2 steps forward, 1 step back dance for the last 6 years. And there are times there's maybe a 0.5% of the time that I don't listen, but I have learned to trust and embrace it. And the more that I open to it, the more comes, and now I'm one of the ones who used to say, I can't see things. Well, now I'm starting to see things, but I've also learned that my sight and my gift and this other communication comes in on every single sense level all at once. It's a little trippy, but yeah, it just, the expansion in my heart and opening to love and creativity and abundance, it took 4 years for that to open enough for me to get this space and start this journey.
I find it very interesting that you have 7 petals on your mandala. Was that intentional?
Nope. It was not.
Okay, and for those of you that understand or have heard of the chakra system, there are similar mandalas that resonate with each chakra, and they have the amount of petals for each one, and the 7th is your 7th chakra, opening up to that higher divine source of wisdom, which is your full embodiment of your spirit. It is you.
I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised when I stepped back, and because even on the sketch that I had on the floor, there were only 6. And when I stepped back from the one I painted on the wall, there were 7.
Neat. Beautiful.
And then, and the hearts, and a lot of love comes through this. It's a portal. A lot of love and a lot of healing comes through this mandala.
It's gorgeous.
Thank you.
So I'm going to move down to this one. Tell us about this process here.
So this actually, after I created the one on the wall, very shortly after this, I went to Kauai for my 4th Lomi Lomi 10-day retreat with you, Gloria. And I'd gone a couple of days early because I needed some time. And as I was sitting in my hotel room on the first day of the retreat, when Gloria was going to come get me, I was staring out at the ocean and I started to sketch. And I didn't know what I was drawing. And it started again with a spiral in the center. And I sat at this funny little table in this funny little hotel room, and out poured this mandala. And I drew it. And then I don't have the colored version, but as I drew it, and then I took some colored ballpoint pens. And as I worked the colors, I had a truly transcendental experience where I came to an unbelievable place of connection with Source and an understanding of the universe and what some would call God. And I mean, the most profound experience I think I've ever had, and it came from this mandala.
Neat. It kind of reminds me of when we were kids and we used to doodle.
Yes.
Everyone's probably done that at some point, and you're doodling on the back of your school notebooks and stuff, and you don't even realize that these symbols and these movements of energy are actually got a significance behind it that we're doing. We just think it's scribble, but they can be created into some very beautiful, beautiful, very sacred symbols, for ourselves, for our own journey. So you have quite a few here, and we've got about 15 minutes left. So I'm going to run through these with you pretty quickly so that you can give a little bit more explanation. Now this one, starts to look a little more complex going on here. It almost looks like the flower of life.
Actually, you're right, it does. And this one came out after Kauai, and it's one of I think it's the second one that I really sat and that came through me really powerfully. And oddly enough, I started it as a snowflake, just thinking I'm gonna, do something for a Christmas card, and out this poured, and it came out again quickly in an hour or two as I was sitting on the couch in my living room. So I was, you know, a lot of times I'm shocked by what comes out.
And
And
they're
if
absolutely beautiful. I'm always amazed, even though you tell me they're not symmetrical and perfect, but they look very near symmetrical and perfect. How do you do that so freehand?
I don't try. That was what the big mandala on the wall taught me, is that perfection is not required and it's definitely not needed. And when I try to make them perfect, they don't work. So these, honestly, I don't know. I channel whatever's coming through me. And, you know, when I estimate, I'm like, okay, you know, maybe half here, half there. And this one I used a circle template on for a couple of the lines, but the overall geometric design really was just what came through my hand.
It's amazing when we just allow for things to flow in our life, that
Mm-hmm.
it will actually take you to where you need to go next symbolically too. Okay, so we have another one here. Tell us, what is this one here?
Okay, so in this process, one morning I walked in and greeted my mandala on the wall, as I always do, and it said, hey, guess what you can do? And I said, I don't know, what? It said, you can create custom healing mandalas for people, for others. You can channel this and you can create these and they can help people. And I went, oh, cool. So this is one of the healing mandalas that is in process for one of my clients. And this one was to illustrate, so on the, let's see, on the first one, mostly I learned to start doing these in pen because it gets me into the process and it doesn't allow me to backtrack on something that I may not like. Because inevitably when I'm creating the mandalas, there's a phase where I think they're ugly. And I have to push through it and keep going. And then when they end, I'm astonished at what they are. But this one told me it wanted to be started in pencil. So I started with the sketch that's on the left. And then on the right is the more refined drawing that I did. And I thought that it wanted to be created in pencil so that I could get these beautiful curves, because the name of this mandala is Goddess. And it's about the goddess energy and how we, anyway, embody this. And after I did, thank goodness I did it in pencil. So after I did the shapes that you see, I had a vision several weeks later of the lotus flower in the center of this mandala, because that was the eye. I actually didn't have a center on this one when I started, and I didn't realize it. And it came to me to put the lotus in there. And if I had not created it in pencil, if I'd done it in pen like I always do, I would have had to start over.
So I love that you're trusting your intuition, because anything that's in creation mode, kind of like you said, doesn't always look the way you want it to look, you know,
Yeah.
and like you said, could even look, quote unquote, you know, like ugly. But you're trusting that process, and that's really like life. Like, you trust the process of what's the next step, and am I going to listen, or am I going to change it? And then we realize that that doesn't work. Just like in your first one, you kept putting stuff in the middle. So I love that. Now, is this the part of that one too?
Yeah, that's just that's more of the work being done. And it's gotten a little further than that, but not far. I haven't had a ton of time to work on it, but I can feel it calling me.
So really, when you're creating this healing mandala for other people, are you in like a meditation state with them to connect with them so that these come through?
Well, what I do is I give them a set of questions. I ask them to go into their own meditation space, and I ask them about what it is in their life that they love right now, because I want them to, to be present in a really good space. And then I ask them, if there's anything they desire to change, or if there's something that they need to heal in their life or that they need clarity on. So there's about 4 or 5 questions. It depends on the person. And then once I receive their answers, then I meditate on their answers and, on their energy and their image in my heart. And I sit and I wait. And I actually usually don't have to wait very long. It will generally come to me as soon as the answers come to me. And I'll get the name of, once I start creating the mandala, then I get its name, because each mandala has a name. And then there's a message that comes through that's associated with that particular mandala. And so far, there's also been personal messages that have come through to be given to the receiver.
And one of the things that I can attest to, having worked with Candy, even on my book and other projects, she does get things quickly. She has a talent and a gift to tune in to the frequency that you're in. So actually the cover of my book came to me in a dream, and I kind of just sent it to Candy, and boom, it was on the paper. I mean, it was pretty wild. We didn't have long discussions about it, and she's done that multiple times with me. So she's incredibly gifted with this talent, you know, through this creative ability to tap into that frequency of you and put it on paper for you to see. So I love that about you. I could always say, Candy, this is what I need, and boom, there it is. So now I'm seeing another one here. Is this for somebody, or is this just one of your quote unquote doodles?
This is one that, so initially I have 2 or 3 that started as me just receiving. And then unfortunately my head got in the way, and I've always been better at creating things for people rather than just to create. I do better if I have a purpose. But this one's called Serendipity. And as I drew it, one of my clients really liked the one on the left that had no border, no container. And so she asked, and I honored her, and I scanned it. And then what I was being really called to do was the one on the bottom right with the container around it. So this is now, 2. And I think that they're both valid and they're both beautiful. But yeah, it's called Serendipity.
Beautiful. And tell us about this one. I love the lavender in there too that you started coloring in.
So now this is one of the healing ones that I've done for one of my friends. And this one is heliotrope. And again, I got her answers to her questions, and I started drawing it. And I actually didn't hear the name of this one until it was finished, which is a little odd. But I had received the messages for it as soon as I started drawing it. And I always scan it in black and white for the oracle cards that I'm going to do. But then after I was done, she had asked that there be a little bit of purple because that's her favorite color. Well, coincidentally, heliotrope is a color of purple. And it was extremely appropriate for her and her life. And it just reaffirmed to me that I am headed in exactly the right direction. And I am hearing the messages as they come in. And this is about growth and honoring all of the steps that we take in our life, even the ones that we think are not perfect, because every step puts us exactly where we need to be to take the next step, and after that, and taking all of our gifts and combining them into, where we are right now and what we need to do.
Candy, I have to tell you, I'm just so excited that all this is happening for you. I really am. And those of you that don't know Candy, like I know Candy, this is huge for her, not only to create these, but to share these with you and others, and to be teaching about it. So I'm really super excited for you that you're allowing all of this, beautiful energy to open up. I have a question about this. It's so intricate. How long did that take you?
I'm going to say about 4 hours.
Wow, that's it? That would take me about 4 years.
When they start to flow and I allow, the time, the space, they're very excited to come out. Yeah. They really do want to be created. And so as long as I'm given the time, they come through very quickly.
Great. Here's another beautiful one. Wow. It's amazing how each one, kind of has that circular look to it, most of them, but they're all completely different.
Mm-hmm. It's true. And this is
beautiful. Kind of like a snowflake, right?
Yeah. And this is the first healing mandala that I did for a friend. And this one is called Healing. And I did it when we were out camping, and it started looking at one of the flowers out in the meadow is where this one started, because I wasn't sure how to start it. And so I sat with what she needed and where she's at right now. And that's what came out. So.
And so are you coloring it for them, or are they coloring it?
I give them the option. Most everyone does not want to color it because it's an original piece of artwork, and they're like, I don't want to touch that. So I can always give scans if they want to color, but no one has yet wanted to color the original. But if they want color, I am happy to add it for them. And that's one of the questions, is if they feel like they want color on the finished one.
I love them. They're really pretty. This is fun.
This one's desert sun.
Faces.
Yeah. And I had done a sketch called Everyday Things, and I was trying to recreate it because I sketched it on a little hotel notepad with a ballpoint pen. And instead of creating that one, I created this one. And it's funny that you were talking about how if we try to influence things, how it doesn't always work. This one's got a whole lot of whiteout on it that you can't see, because I tried to make it do something that it didn't want to do. And then I stopped when I realized that it was really uncomfortable and really not going in the direction. And I went back and I whited a whole bunch of stuff out, and then I did it the way that it wanted to be done.
And again, this reminds me of life. You know, sometimes we try to control things a certain way, take a certain path, force the path, realize it's not working, take a step back, start over again, erase it a little bit, and go back to the basics. And then it's like, okay, let me just show up and see what's here right now.
Yep. And that's exactly what happened.
Cool. And we got one more. Tell us about this beautiful one.
This is called Beloved. And I really, really wish that I had taken a picture of the original pencil sketch for this one. This is one of the first ones I did in this process of creating them with pens. This looks nothing like the sketch that I had started with. And I was absolutely floored when it was finished. And I stepped back and I went, oh my. I haven't received all of its message yet, but I know, but its name is Beloved. And it reminds me that it's a beloved process.
It sure is. So if somebody wanted to start opening this creative channel, what would you recommend that they do?
Honestly, I would recommend grabbing a pen or a pencil if you're real. You know, a lot of people will start with a pencil because it gives them that feeling of control. And take a piece of white paper outside, go do some meditation, and then just allow your hand to do what it's going to do. And don't judge it. And work at it. It's not going to be perfect the first time. Mine weren't. But if you open to it and you want to receive the messages, the journey of creating mandalas is powerful. Each of these creates so much in me and opens up so much. And I would welcome anyone and everyone to sit and just doodle. And if it starts with nothing more than one small circle in the middle of a page, and then you put daisy petals on it, and then maybe you put a couple of squiggly lines, and then a couple of squares. You know, it's just listen and open, and and listen to your heart and what it's speaking, because these are containers for our heart messages too.
So tell me, Candy, tell us, when you allowed this process to unfold and get to where it is today, what's been happening in your life?
Wow. It's really starting to snowball. And there's been a couple of pauses as I had to come into acceptance and willingness. But the things that have opened and the channels, my heart has opened. My relationship with my husband has blossomed into something that I didn't even know was possible. My friendship with my best friend who owns this yoga studio is blossoming. My business is starting to take off. I just bought my dream vehicle, which is a Jeep Wrangler. I dyed my hair hot pink. I now have pink and purple hair because in this process I am learning I am precious and I am brilliant, and these are the gifts that I have right now that really want to come out. And it brings me so much energy and joy to create them and to know that they are brilliant and powerful and much needed. So it's been a really wonderful journey. And
I've had fun watching it.
Yeah, and it's just getting started. The things that are going to come through as I step into this are pretty significant. It's going to be really wonderful, and it already is.
Well, this has been a fun presentation, but you have made some fabulous leaps in your life, and I am seeing before me a whole new spirit that I've never seen before. And seriously, you have evolved and blossomed with these mandalas, and there is a clarity around you and in you and through you that I see now that wasn't there maybe a year or 2 or 3 ago when I first met you. And you don't even look the same, Candy. And it's not just the hair. You don't look the same anymore. You look lighter, more free-spirited, happier, even more beautiful than you were. And you absolutely are radiant. So I'm really, really, really happy that, you know, you took this journey and now you got to share it with, you know, our beautiful guest tonight. You were mentioning earlier that you're going to create some cards with these. Why don't you tell them about those?
So I'm being guided, and I received this last year, but I'm being guided to create an oracle deck of the mandalas. And I'm feeling like it's going to be about 56 cards. I'm going to create them in a 6x6 format on a nice heavy cardstock. And the first version will be black and white so that people can color their own mandalas. But the deck will come with, each will have its name and its message, and you can use it like you use your tarot decks or like our Aloha cards to receive guidance with things that you need, you know, to move forward on. And then, you know, in the process of coloring them is also a process of creation. And so at the end, you can have a beautiful 56 deck of cards that you have created. And that's the first piece. And then there's going to be a mandala journal with mandalas for people to color and journal pages. And then there will be grids in the back so that people can start creating their own mandalas and journal about that process. I'm creating pendants of the healing mandalas. And there's going to be a coloring book of the mandalas. And that's just what I've been given right now. That's enough for right now.
Yeah, well, that's fabulous. How exciting. You know, Candy mentioned the Aloha cards, something that came through me about 6 years ago, where she helped put it all together, the whole graphic design piece of it. And I pretty much went through a similar process of listening to guidance of messages that had to be put out there. And there was an evolution with that process too, even after we co-created and developed the actual cards, because just like Candy now is doing these mandalas for her clients, you know, for you guys, you know, for healing, then those cards were also shown how to take those messages similar to this and do a sole purpose guidance reading for people. So Candy, look at the parallel lives we've got going on here. How fun. Yeah. How amazingly fun. So if they want to, you know, take advantage of these beautiful, you know, mandalas and have one done for themselves for their own healing, how do they get in touch with you?
Easiest would be my email, which is seraphimhealingart@gmail.com.
Okay, hold on one second, and I am going to type that on here. So it's, oops, Seraph, S-E-R-P-H-I.
Yep, healing art at gmail.com.
And do you have a website that they can go to as well?
I have a website, but I don't have anything for the mandalas yet. The amazing Kate is going to be helping me get that together here very shortly. But the website is Seraphim Healing Arts, so plural, .com.
And you're on Facebook too.
I am on Facebook, and that's also Seraphim Healing Arts.
Okay, great. All right. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time, you know, this evening to share this beautiful gift. And I am just so really excited for you because, you know, one of the things that I love to do is watch people reach their full potential and blossom. And you have been just doing that right before my very eyes for all these years. And girl, you are that. I mean, look at you, centered right in the middle of that beautiful lotus flower. and just beaming across this screen. So thank you tonight for coming on, for sharing your gifts with people, for inspiring them. And I hope all of you out there, you know, check her stuff out and go to her Facebook page and like it, and maybe make a comment about what you learned about Candy and her mandalas tonight too. So let's support this beautiful blossoming lotus out there. Thank you, Candy.
Lori, I wanted to say I couldn't have done any of this without you. So thank you for opening my heart to all of this and for being part of my journey. Truly.
I'm just here to be the vessel for you, girl. That's it. Okay.
I love you. Thank you.
Okay. Well, it's been a beautiful journey, and a lot of these ladies here, I know you know some, I know some, and I'm watching them all blossom. And it's been a beautiful experience and gift in my life to watch that happen for people. So let's keep doing it together.
All right.
Okay, everybody, thank you very much. Fit, Fabulous, and Fun is on most Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. We have some special guests coming up soon. There's going to be a vegan chef coming up with some recipes. There is going to be someone talking about gluten-free diets. So we're going to be doing more of the fitness thing. And then we're going to have a very busy mom talk about how she feeds her kids healthy. And if you know of anybody that would like to come on and be a special guest that has something to share, and it could be you, then please contact me, because we'd love to have you share your talents, your gifts, your ideas, or just come and have fun. Maybe you're a stand-up comic and you want that to come out, okay? Good night, everybody.